Pag-ibig sa tinubuang lupa. Love for one's homeland is a poem written by Hero Andres Bonifacio. The said poem was published in the first issue of Kalayaan. The poem exhorted Filipinos to join the crusade to achieve real Philippine independence. The poem, Pag-ibig sa tinubuang lupa, was a composition of Andres Bonifacio, regarded as a father of the Philippine Revolution, for he led the Philippine revolutionaries in asserting, defending the Filipinos' right to liberty from the Spanish rule.
Andres Bonifacio, born November 30, 1863, Manila. Died May 10, 1897 in Mount Buntis, Philippines. Philippine patriot, founder and leader of the Nationalist Katipunan Society, who instigated the revolt of August 1896 against the Spanish. Bonifacio was born of poor parents in Manila and had little formal education, and working as a manager and warehouse keeper before becoming involved in revolutionary activity. He was, however, well-read. Unlike the nationalist poet and novelist Jose Rizal, who wanted to reform Spanish rule in the Philippines, Bonifacio advocated complete independence from Spain. In 1892, he founded the Katipunan in Manila, modeling its organization and ceremony on that of the Masonic order. The Katipunan at first grew slowly, but by 1896, it had an estimated 100,000 members and branches not only in Manila, but also in Central Luzon and on the islands of Panay, Mindoro, and Mindanao. Its members were mostly workers and peasants. The urban middle class supported reform rather than revolution.
This passionately written work of Bonifacio was one of his contributions to the Filipinos awakening from their ill-fated flight back then. Moreover, this particular poem was likely based on his life experiences among fellow Filipinos, since in reading the poem, one would notice that Bonifacio wrote his sentiments about the Filipinos. One of those sentiments, or the major sentiments at that, was the Filipino lack of nationalism. Such sentiment of him is stated blatantly and explicitly in the opening verse of his poem.
To be sure, he thought that Filipinos has lost their sense of pride of being Filipinos. In response, he provoked that emotions as well as the intellect of Filipino populace to feel inside them more or so. Realize among themselves that there is no other country for them but the Philippines, adding that they should appreciate and love their country more than anyone else, since there are no other people who can give love and appreciate their country except the countrymen themselves, the Filipinos themselves. As had Bonifacio, who zealously showed his love and patriotism to his motherland. With this, Bonifacio further implicitly asserted that nationalism must come from within and not from any other or from elsewhere. For nationalism is supposed to be inherited and not acquired. That is why it pained him to see why Filipinos found it so hard to exert this, or so taught to them. Bonifacio's poem can be summed up to this: the loss of nationalism is tantamount to the loss of country as well as, and importantly, the people identity.
He means about ang pag-ibig sa tinubuang lupa, or in English, the love of one's homeland is that the homeland of his country and home of his fellow countrymen will be on his heart, because he loves his country, so he wants to make the country free to Spaniards. So he need to lead the Filipinos to fight against Spaniards to free our homeland.
The Kartilya ng Katipunan, English Primer of the Katipunan, serve as the guidebook for new members of the organization. which laid out the group's rules and principles. The first edition of the Cartilla was written by Emilio Jacinto.
Emilio Jacinto was born in 1875 on the 15th of December. He was the only son of a man named Mariano Jacinto and a woman named Josefa Dizon. Shortly after he was born, his father passed away. This untimely death forced his mother to send Emilio to live with his uncle, Don Jose Dizon. His mother believed that his uncle could care for the young Emilio better than she could after the death of Mariano.
Historical background of the document. In 1986, Andres Bonifacio, the father of the Philippines Revolution and once the president of the Supreme Council of the Katipunan, pinned the duties of the sons of the people, a list of the duties and responsibilities to be followed strictly by every member of the organization. The rules constitute a decalogue and embodied Bonifacio's passionate beliefs.
The Cartilla's main teaching is to demonstrate true love of the native land and sincere compassion for others, for fair and true Britain shall be regarded by all. The document was written prior to the August 1896 revolutionary movement of the Katipunan. The Katipuneros, upon joining the Katipunan, were required to read the Cartilla and adhere to its code of conduct. The factors that Emilio Jacinto considered in writing the document were to make sure that members of the society has the quality of a Katipunero. The document also intended to make the Filipinos understand what real Katipunero is.
The Katipunan served as an awakening call for the Filipinos to fight for their freedom. When they started, there were approximately 4,000 pioneer members, but it grew as much as 400,000 when it was discovered, a sign of how it was awakened the nationalism of the Filipino.
The Philippine Declaration of Independence was proclaimed by Filipino Revolutionary Forces General Emilio Aguinaldo on 12 June 1898 in Cavite, El Viejo, Philippines.
On this day, 120 years ago, General Emilio Aguinaldo declared the Philippines independence from Spain. However, neither Spain nor the United States recognized the declaration. The Spanish rule of the Philippines officially ended with the Treaty of Paris of 1898, which also ended the Spanish-American War. In the treaty, Spain ceded control of the Philippines to the U.S. The Philippine name after King Philip II of Spain would finally become independent in 1946.
The Declaration of Independence is one of the important milestones in Philippine history. We was colonized by many countries for a long time. It is important for it will display the respect we have to those people who give their lives to fight and defend our country. It's also important to keep the spirit of patriotism alive and spread awareness of our Filipino culture.
Overall, this poem is about being proud of one's nationality and country. We have to love, praise, and fight for our own country, and appreciate the things that it has to offer for us. This poem makes me proud to be a Filipino. I'm proud to have a hero like Andres Bonifacio, who fought and battled to save his fellow men and country. He was not only thinking of himself, but also the sake of other people. The Cartilla ng Katipunan was about the 13 lessons that serve as the Katipunero's guide in living with morals and good values. It was like a code of conduct that shows how to be true Filipino in words and action. We believe that this Cartilla ng Katipunan shows the path on how to live a meaningful life for every Filipino. Each lesson is unique in such a way that it tackles different aspects of a person's life. Many of us may have different explanation and understanding about it, but it is appropriate to have a better understanding or explanation to its contents.